Dylan, I know from talking to you already that you've been interested in space exploration since you were a kid, but tell us a little bit about that and then how that general interest evolved into what you're doing today.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for the question, Frank. For me, it's honestly earliest possible memory. And I know it's probably not physically possible to remember something at age 2 or 3, but I think I was as young as you can be. And for me, it really was the Star Trek ecosystem. And for me, space, I'm definitely an explorer, which I don't know if we'll get to, some of the other fun things I was able to do here recently. So I definitely have the explorer gene. I am involved in the business side of space, and I'm fascinated by kind of frontier technology. But for me, the real hook in all of this has always been the social impact that space has, the potentiality of space to improve life here on Earth, to have us realize we're fish in the fishbowl, all those kinds of things. And for me, I was just captivated by that Star Trek ecosystem. And this is the early 70s, and the world's similar to today, perhaps, struggling with a whole range of issues. And you had this kind of utopian world where all the problems seemingly had been, addressed or conquered. And so that really appealed to me. And I think that vision for space has always stuck with me. And so most of what I'm doing today, if you were to sort of map this out in a network chart, it all ties to this big idea of how do we get more people out there? How do we drive the overview effect, a term that you coined, of course? And how do we have humanity realize the ability for us to not only do better, but do things in a way that's sort of transformational for our future. And so, yeah, pretty much everything I'm working on is trying to reduce the friction to make that reality possible.
So if we were to say how you envision an ideal future, we might look at Star Trek as an example. Even though it's fiction, I know quite a few people in the space industry look at that as the kind of future they'd like to see.
For sure. I'm definitely more Star Trek than Star Wars. Star Wars is a little bit more, adversarial. By the way, I love them both, just for the record. And I love The Expanse, which is a bit dystopian. But yeah, I think my vision would be much more Star Trek, for sure.
Well, one thing I did not mention in the introduction, but it's important in terms of who you are today. Another addition to your resume is you're an astronaut now. You flew on Blue Origin, New Shepard 19. How has that informed what you're doing today, and how does it affect the way you go about a very busy day in putting together this vision of yours?
Yeah, what it's done, Frank, mostly is lit a fire, literally and figuratively, underneath me to do everything that I'm doing today, but do it just even more passionately, aggressively, quickly, because I have this deep sense of urgency that I think I had previously, but now all of the precepts I had about space have been validated personally and viscerally. And so now it's really, hey, let's really make this happen. We're on this earth for such a short period of time, and how can I really make an impact? So I think it's really just more accelerated my passion to make all these things happen, and certainly validated what I believe to be true going into the flight. It definitely, and you and I have spoken about the flight in the past, and it just completely smashed all expectations I had, Frank. And this is something I've been thinking about most of my life, and it still was overwhelmingly better than I could have even dreamed.
And it is transformational?
No question. I think not only transformational, but penetrative, right? It's something that I don't think, even if you were to, have some kind of a detox and say, okay, space is bad for some reason, I don't think you could remove it from your core. It's so much a part of your psyche that I don't think you could reverse the process. I really don't.
Right. Well, when I was first thinking about the overview effect, I wasn't thinking about astronauts. I was thinking about this future we're talking about, which was millions of people living and working out there in the solar ecosystem. And so that would be a situation in which what you saw for a few minutes would be something people would see every day, which is the Earth in the sky, and the universe beyond it. So it's hard to imagine that this future wouldn't have different kinds of people living in it.